The show begins, and without on a train, one of the passengers suddenly combusts. Everyone on the platform run away as well, seeing a flaming train, apart from Shinra, who stands there with an excited look on his face. He's greeted by a fire monster, so he prepares to engage in battle, but the fire force arrives and quickly dispose of the monster in a spectacular manner, whilst one of their members makes a prayer. Due to the flames, a light fixture from above breaks, but before it falls on one of the fire members, Shinra activates his powers and dashes to save her whilst wearing a creepy smile. He introduces himself to the team as their third-generation fire soldier. Shinra is taken to their station, where he officially meets the captain Akitaru and the second-in-command Hinawa. The captain finds out that his new recruit smiles uncontrollably whenever he is in a tense situation. We also learn he joined the fire force to become a hero, although he is regarded as a devil due to an event that took place when he was young. The rest of the team joins them and introduce themselves as Iris the Nun and Maki, the second-generation fire soldier. Akitaru briefs Shinra on what exactly they encountered in the train station earlier that day. That fire demon is known as an infernal. Later that night, Shinra finds it difficult to sleep and begins to recollect his past. He remembers an old memory with his mother and younger brother. His house also completely burned down, which caused the death of his mother and brother. Everyone thought he was not remorseful for what he did, so they labeled him the devil. The fire alarm rings loud and brings him out of his thoughts. The team gear up and make their way to dispose of a human who just turned inferno. After arriving and making their way inside the building, Shinra is overwhelmed by the fire and temporarily has visions of what happened that fateful day. His hesitance presents an opening for the infernal to strike him and knocking him out. He is brought back by the voice of his comrades and takes the monster out whilst dodging its attack. The team stand in prayer, watching the infernal slowly disintegrate into ash. The man shows gratitude by holding Shinra's hand while sobbing. The crowd behind applaud the Fire Force heroes for their good work. At the station, Akitaru informs Shinra of the upcoming Rookie Fire Soldier Games he will be taking part in alongside their new recruit. It is an event where the new members across all the Fire Force companies come together to show off their skills. As Shinra makes his way back to his room, he comes across Arthur, who is the new addition. Shinra recognizes him from the academy, so they begin fighting to settle an unresolved matter in the past. Their fight interrupts Maki and Iris's picnic on the roof, so the new recruit introduces himself to the ladies as the Night King Arthur. Hinawa joins them to conduct a training session by telling Maki to take on both Shinra and Arthur at the same time. Iris expresses her worry, thinking this might be too much for her. However, Hinawa informs Iris that she was once in the military, so taking on the two boys wouldn't be much of a challenge for her. She starts off by knocking Shinra off the roof after extinguishing his fire, and then lands a knee to Arthur's face when she finds out he is unable to turn off his plasma blade. The boys manage to recover, but they annoy Maki after calling her an ogre. Later on, the two commanders show Shinra and Arthur the type of weapons used in combat. Since Akitaru doesn't possess any powers, he relies on armor and heavy weaponry to protect himself from the fire monsters. When an alert goes off, the team rush to the location. Upon arrival, they are briefed that a little girl's father just turned inferno, as 2 years ago her mother also turned into an infernal. The team enter the building to see their target just sitting there unresponsive. This is especially unusual, as infernals normally cause mayhem and destruction. Arthur volunteers to put him to rest whilst the team gather for the prayer. All of a sudden, the building begins to cave in and we see a mysterious. Before escaping, Akitaru rescued a picture and gave it to the crying girl. Shinra is heavily affected by what he saw, so finds it difficult to sleep that night. He makes a vow to bring an end to spontaneous human combustion as soon as possible. Elsewhere, the man from the fire incident meets with his subordinate Victor to give feedback on the substance made for him. At the Rookie Fire Games, Shinra is introduced to the Fire Defense Agency's mascots, whilst Victor, who looks like some bootleg dentist, the menace observes from afar. As Shinra and Arthur wait for the event to begin, he pans around and notices a badge he has seen before. This is the same man who came to his aid 12 years ago when the incident happened at his home. Shinra approaches Burns to ask some questions regarding it, but he dismisses him, saying he has no time for questions. He reaches his hand to follow him, but his path is blocked by a rookie from Company 1 named Tamaki. Just then, an announcement is made to all rookies explaining their objective in this year's Rookie Games. Shinra has the advantage and flies his way to the top. He strolls inside where Joker awaits to have a conversation with him. He informs Shinra that he has information on what happened to his family 12 years ago. The two begin to fight after Joker threatened to kill 2 crewmen. Joker rewards him for being good time pass and discloses that Shinra's brother did not die in the fire and is still alive. He also says that the people within the fire organization are hiding things. This brings Burns to Shinra's mind. Joker tells him if he wants to know the entire truth, then he should leave being a hero in the Fire Force and join him in being a devil. Shinra is enraged by his proposal, so he increases his powers, landing several blows to Joker. The sound from their fighting alerts the attention of Arthur and Tamaki to their location. They both begin to fight Joker, but he escapes while blowing up the building. Shinra with his teammates save the unconscious firefighters and they all make an escape through the roof. Later that night, Shinra relays everything that happened inside the building to his captain. Akitaru comes clean and informs Shinra about the true nature of the Fire Force Agency. It was formed by 3 entities: the Holy Soul Temple, the Tokyo Armed Forces, and the Fire Defense Agency. Akitaru believes at least one of the companies have found the cause of spontaneous human combustion, and his duty as captain of Company 8 is to investigate companies 1 to 7 in order to find out the truth. Sometime later, Shinra and the rest are busy with some paperwork when they receive a phone call to go and rescue a dog that is stuck on a tree. They arrive at the scene to see that one of their mascots was thrown into the tree by some college kids. A few locals resent the Fire Force soldiers because one of the firefighters sometime killed 4 people without reason. At the same time, Miyamoto's trial is going on and he is found. Just then, he suddenly catches fire and turns into an infernal, but he still has all his senses. Company 8 arrive and give him a good beating before he takes off in the opposite direction. Miyamoto arrives in the middle of the streets to begin his annihilation, but Shinra shows up as well. Shinra overpowers him and Miyamoto begs for mercy and asks the nun to read the prayer. Shinra grants him the wish, but he betrays them and goes in for the kill, but then gets his hand taken off with a kick. But before Shinra can put an end to the monster, a captain from Company 5 intervenes and tries to take Miyamoto away for experimentation. Shinra expresses his disapproval since his team are already on the case. Princess Hibana releases her powers and somehow subdues Shinra. When the captain for Company 8 arrives, he tells Hibana to hand over the Infernal, since she is in their jurisdiction. But she retorts saying it is much better to experiment on the monster since his case is a rare one with him being lucid, and that the experiment may lead to solving the mystery of human combustion. Akitaru agrees to let them have it with the only condition being they should share the results of the findings with Company 8. Shinra finds Iris crying and recollecting her time with Hibana in the past. He asks her if anything is bothering her, but she says she's okay. On the roof, the team are being updated on their hidden objective as Company 8 to investigate other companies and bring down those guilty of misconduct. Whilst explaining the details of their purpose, Shinra is steady talking with the girls. This gets Hinowa a little bit irate, so he pulls his gun out and shoots Shinra on the leg. He cries in agony, but soon realizes that it does not hurt as much as Hinowa is able to decrease the force of the bullet with his second-generation pyrokinetic. Hinowa spills some information regarding Princess Hibana. She was recruited by the business giant Hijima Industries, who have a heavy influence in the Special Fire Force organization. Some of her work might include data on the cause to sudden human combustion. The lieutenant implies they may have to search her base through force if it comes to that. Meanwhile, at the camp of Company 5, their captain conducts her experiments on the lucid infernal they captured some time back. That night, Iris makes her way to their base to see Hibana, but upon seeing Iris, she gets angry and begins to attack her. Company 8 also arrives to carry out their search of the base. Hinowa tells Shinra and Arthur to go on ahead and find the captain of Company 5, whilst he and Maki take care of the guards. The lieutenant goes crazy wielding 2 guns and uses the bullets to knock all of them out, along with Maki. Arthur is confronted by a new and improved Infernal and the researcher at Company 5. They begin to battle, but the Infernal proves to be extremely strong, knocking Arthur back. However, Arthur realizes that he has been fighting with the wrong hand all along, so he switches his blade to his dominant hand and one-shots the Infernal. Elsewhere, Shinra finds his way to the main structure. He enters the building and wonders if he can actually take on a company captain. Shinra recalls his last encounter with her and knows he has to find a way of dealing with her strange power. Some triplets try to stop Shinra, but he knocks them all out with one kick and makes his way to Hibana. Iris instructs Shinra to run away because he has absolutely no chance in hell of defeating Hibana. He says he'll be okay rushing towards the captain, but he's floored yet again by that strange ability. Shinra is unable to use his power, so she walks over and begins to step on him. She tells him that she is causing vertigo in his brain, which makes him weak, but Shinra's resolve for wanting to be a hero is too great, and he stands up against all odds, even shocking Hibana. She creates a tree of flames and begins to envelope him with pills of fire to end it once and for all. Shinra finds his strength and overcomes the heat sync-up stating. Shinra dashes towards her and smacks Hibana. At that moment, she remembers an old memory at the convent where she showcased her fire powers and knowledge of science in the form of flowers to the other orphans, of which Iris was a part as well. As time passed, everyone in the convent got burned apart from Iris and Hibana. Her outlook in life changed on that day to outsmart others and exploit them. She found salvation from being wealthy and powerful. This led her to conducting experiments and selling her findings to Hijima Industries, who rewarded her with being a captain of her own team. After she waking up and acknowledging her mistakes, she admits defeat. Shinra informs her that regardless of what she has done, whenever she needs a hero, he will come running to her aid. They go outside to inspect the aftermath of the battle. Hibana is taken aback after seeing that all her men were taken out. A few of them wake up and regard Lieutenant Hinowa as a monster. Since they will have to explain all of this to the higher-ups, they decide to come up with a lie that Company 8 and 5 were just conducting drills. Shinra can't understand how she is being so cooperative, but Habana is head over heels for Shinra now. Word quickly spread through the rest of the companies, with Company 1 being suspicious of the events that took place. Company 5 and 8 have a friendly dinner party in the outdoors to smooth things over. After a delightful day, the two captains have a discussion. Habana says she will aid Company 8 in their investigation, although she cannot promise the full cooperation of Company 5 since they are aligned with Hijima Industries. Habana reveals that someone out there is purposely turning humans infernal through artificial means, and the first sighting of this was in a region within the jurisdiction of Company 1. At the station, Akitaru takes advantage of the rookie training reassignment system to send Shinra and Arthur as spies to Company 1 to see if they can find any leads on the artificial infernal matter. Outside the fortress of Company 1, Habana arranged for other rookies as well, so that it is less suspicious. Burns introduces his 3 lieutenants who will be in charge of their training. Shinra comes forth and asks the captain to host a sparring match for their first training session, so that he can assess their abilities, and the captain agrees. Takeru is first, and he is matched up against Lieutenant Rekka. He launches his attack at Rekka, but the lieutenant dodges all the attacks. A stray flames head towards Kareem. However, he erased all the fire with his bell and then releases the flame as ice. Kareem explains, saying he is a second gen who is able to convert the flames into sound by compressing it and releasing it into the air to create ice. Burns decides to take on both Arthur and Shinra and tells them not to hold back. Arthur goes first with his plasma blade. He strikes the captain with all his might, but he simply blocks it with one hand. Burns then goes on to extinguish his blade, which shocks Arthur. Shinra takes the opportunity to land a few blows, but Captain blocks them all. Shinra gives on last attack, and Burns takes it head-on without taking any damage. Burns calls an end to the training session. Later that evening, a mysterious man wearing the attire of a Company 1 lieutenant is heard having a conversation with the evangelists, saying he will continue with the creation of infernals. At the station of Company 8, Habana presents her findings on the artificial infernals. Her conclusion is that someone is using insects to pierce into the victims' hearts, thus compromising their core, creating artificial infernals. The alarm rings, and the rookies tag along with Company 1 to go take down the infernals. However, they are told to stand by and keep watch. Shinra sees a man stumbling around and goes over to help, but the man turns into an infernal after someone from behind him plants an insect through his back. Shinra tries to catch the culprit, but only finds Kareem and Rekka at the end of the alley. Back at base, Shinra and Arthur decide to go snooping around after suspecting the culprit to be either Rekka or Kareem. They go into Kareem's room only to find the same bug in a bottle Shinra saw earlier that day. Kareem comes out of the shadows and denies being involved. Since Shinra confirms that the culprit was wearing the same robe Kareem is wearing, the only other person present was Rekka. Elsewhere, Tamaki convinces some kids to follow her. She takes them to a warehouse where Rekka is waiting with other children. He says that he knows a special prayer that can protect them all from the fire, so he asks Tamaki to step out so he can concentrate. But when she insists on staying to witness the miracle, he knocks her out and begins to turn them into infernals. His objective is to find someone compatible with the spark. Rekka injects one of the kids with the insect, who has severe reaction to it, but manages to turn back to normal. This excites Rekka as he has finally found what he is looking for. Tamaki uses her ability to send out a distress signal, which gets Shinra's attention. Rekka begins to attack her, and before he lands the finishing blow, Shinra comes in and stomps Rekka's face into the ground, saving Tamaki as she cries. With Shinra's guard down, Rekka rises behind him and delivers a punch to the face. Shinra recovers, and the two engage in a fierce battle. The insect that Rekka has seems to be attracted to Shinra's flames. Rekka understands that Shinra is the third person the evangelist is looking for, since he possesses what is known as an Adola burst, which is a pure flame. Rekka discloses that this is the reason he implanted the insects into children, so he could find someone with the Adola burst. Shinra is infuriated and lands a kick on his face. Tamaki tries to escape with all the kids. Rekka goes crazy, saying all he wanted to do was make it look like they burned to death so he could take them to the evangelist. Shinra remembers his brother and thinks perhaps his brother was also taken. Rekka increases his flames and tries to take the whole building down, but Kareem comes in with his hand and freezes him for further interrogation. As they are discussing, a flame arrow is shot and it pierces through Rekka's chest. The people responsible for killing Rekka fire another shot to eliminate the rest of the fire force, but Lee pushes Kareem out of the way and loses an arm. Shinra puts up a smoke screen to impair their vision. Kareem instructs Tamaki to launch her projectiles indirectly so that the sniper wouldn't know their location. She does exactly that, and the assassins become aware and run away. Shinra wants to go after them, but Kareem stops him, saying that he will die as he is already exhausted from his battle with Rekka. Kareem acknowledges his effort and vows to work with Shinra to uncover these scum. Tamaki joins Company 8 as a disciple from Company 1 for collaboration, and along with Hibana and Akitaru, they head off to an all-captain conference at the Perpetual Plant to discuss the events of the White-Clad organization and the Evangelist. Shinra sees all the captains and takes a particular interest in the captain of Company 7. He is said to be the strongest soldier in the force. The Empire continues saying he is calling on the aid and might of all the captains to work together to bring down the Evangelist who threatens humanity. Shinra is called upon, and it made clear to everyone that he possesses the Adola Burst. Dr. Giovanni, captain from Company 3, instantly suggests that Shinra should be secured and safeguarded, since the Evangelist's main target will be him. Albana whispers to Akitaru that Company 3 wants to use Shinra as a specimen, perhaps to understand the difference between normal flames and the Adola Burst. So he chimes in saying Shinra's safety is guaranteed by Company 8. After the meeting, Shinra stays behind to view the facility where he runs into Joker. He informs Shinra that his long-lost brother works under the Evangelist as a commander of Knights of the Ashen Flame and disappears. Shinra finally returns to his station, where they are to look for clues in every single report that has been filed by Company 8. So Lieutenant Hinawa asks Shinra to help make dinner for everyone as he looked depressed. He tells Shinra that if there's something on his mind, he can trust both him and the captain. Shinra lets the cat out the bag and informs his team of what Joker told him earlier about his brother. Elsewhere at some unknown location, the Knights of the Ashen Flame call gather. The 8 finally find a report they identify as having a connection to the White-Clad attacks. Incidentally, the report is from their very first job as a company. This statement makes Shinra curious as to how the 8th began. Lieutenant Hinawa tells them the tale of how it all started. Sometime back while in the Imperial Armed Forces, Hinawa has lunch with his friend Tojo when Maki comes to report in. During their conversation, Tojo reveals that he got his gun baptized because he would much rather be shot by a baptized gun. He urges Hinawa to do the same. That evening as Tojo does some reading, he suddenly combusts, which triggers the alarm. He begs his friend to shoot him, but the lieutenant struggles to pull the trigger as he remembers Tojo's wish about wanting to be shot by a baptized gun. Right then, the other soldiers come in with machine guns and begin to fire. Later on, while roaming around, he hears the siren, so he follows and witnesses Akitaru, who was an ordinary firefighter at the time confronting a Fire Force agent. Akitaru decided to take matters into his own hands and gets permission from the woman to end her husband's suffering. Hanawa, who saw everything from afar, decided to join him, and they enter the premise and put an end to the Infernal. Akitaru decided to create a Fire Force company with the help of Hinawa, since they both shared the same values, with their first recruiter being Maki. After hearing the story, they continue the discussion and learn that some leads take them to a place within the jurisdiction of Company 7. So Company 8 show up without permission and inform Benimaru of their presence, but he does not believe their story of the White-Clad turning people infernal since he has not seen it himself. Their meeting is interrupted by an alarm when an old man bursts and becomes an inferno. The members of Company 8 are curious to know his powers and why he's destroying their town. It turns out he is a compound soldier who has the ability to utilize both second-generation and third-generation powers. An old lady explains that just as the 8th gift the Infernal with a prayer, the 7th destroys the town as a gift to theirs. A festival is held for the Infernal, and reconstruction for the damaged homes begins. Company 8 also aid in the reconstruction to hasten things till they can get to business. All the while, 3 members of the White-Clad show concerns of the 8th's presence within their territory and are therefore commanded by Evangelist to finish them off. Benimaru is tending to Conroe's wounds. He tells him that they should consider helping out the 8th in their investigation, since he sees them as harmless and a bunch of good people. That evening, when Shinra goes to see Benimaru, he explains the condition of Conroe's body. He says that if a third generation keeps using their power after overheating, then their body begins to incinerate, turning it into ash. He then tells the captain that Akitaru has requested to meet with him in an alleyway. Benimaru makes his way to the rendezvous point where he overhears Akitaru and Hinawa talking about how their plan is to turn everyone in the town into infernals. He begins an assault on them both, which alerts the rest of Team 8 to their location. Akitaru and Hinawa are confused as to why they are being attacked, so Benimaru explains that he heard and saw them discussing how they turned the man from earlier that day into an infernal, to which they denied vehemently. He fights with all of Company 8 simultaneously and brings them all down. After gearing up, Captain Akitaru goes toe-to-toe with Benimaru and manages to make him bleed a little. He decides to use his ultimate attack, but before it can be executed, Conroe interjects saying at least he should listen to what they have to say. Shinra tells him that Captain told them to relay the message to Benimaru, but Akitaru denies ever telling Shinra this. Benimaru leaves and Conroe shares the story of how he ended up in his current condition. It happened a while back when their town was on fire. He and Benimaru battle hard to put an end to the blaze caused by multiple infernals. As they reached their limit, they came across a devil-looking infernal. So Conroe pushed Benimaru into a building and decided to take on the demon by himself. Later on, when Benomuro wakes up after being pushed into the building by Conro, he stumbles on his feet only to find his town destroyed and Conro sitting in the corner injured. As they have a wholesome conversation, the captain of Company 4 Soichiro discloses to them that Emperor of the Nation has inducted them into the Special Fire Force as Company 7 for helping them out. Outside in the streets, Benomuro witnesses a bunch of his town people arguing with one another. They are all accusing each other of doing something wrong. He thinks to himself that perhaps Akitaru was speaking the truth since he is seeing a trend of mistaken identity within the town. Elsewhere, the twins Hinata and Hikage are throwing hands because apparently one of them is an imposter. Team 8 and Conro are a bit confused because they cannot see an imposter. Arthur gets irritated and delivers a sweet knee to one of the girls' face. He tells them to take a closer look because that girl is actually a tiny old man. It was Yona, who is also a member of the White Clad who uses his fire abilities to reconfigure the faces of people and is responsible for the confusion. Team 8 discuss how they can aid in bringing stability to the town when suddenly an attack is launched towards them from afar. Shinra recognizes it as being the same attacker from the warehouse, so he goes on his way to locate her. He finds her via the trajectory, and along with Arthur, they both engage white-clad members in battle. They seem to struggle working together before getting the hang of teamwork and finally overpower them. Heron, however, tells Arrow to escape so that he can hold Shinra and Arthur back. He sacrifices himself by eating one of those bugs and turns into a horned infernal. As chaos ensues the town, Benomuro, who is in total confusion, goes to Conro and asks him to take charge of the situation. But he tells Benomuro that the people will only listen to their captain, so Conro gives him words of encouragement to take charge. The captain of Team 7 takes his friend's advice. He addresses the entire town from the sky. He tells the people to start beating each other up because the real town's people could never lose to imposters. They all cheer in admiration for Benomuro before beating each other. Meanwhile, Shinra and Arthur engage the white-clad member who is now turned into a devil infernal. Arthur realizes that his plasma blade cannot cut through the demon's skin. Shinra, on the other hand, is having a bizarre experience of his own. Arrow notices and explains that he just experienced an Adola link. The devil proves too much for the duo, but Benomuro comes into the rescue and takes the fight up in the sky in order to end it with an extremely powerful attack. His elevation upwards alerts Arrow's attention, so she fires a shot to take him down. Conro sees this but cannot stop it due to his illness. He calls out to Shinra to save Benomuro. Shinra feels a sensation in his leg and looks up into the sky. He sees the arrow heading towards Benomuro. Shinra rushes and tries to kick it away from its course, but the arrow wouldn't budge. He musters up power within himself and slaps it in a different direction using his feet. This gives Benomuro the opportunity to dispose of the devil infernal. Arrow and Yona go to report their finds to the commander, whilst Shinra saves Benomuro after he used too much firepower. Team 8 gives their gratitude to Company 7 and then make their way back. Arrow and Yona stand before the commander to report everything that took place. It is revealed that his name is Sho, Shinra's little brother. At the station, Akitaru is informed of a new arrival who has been sent over by Hinjima Industry to be their head scientist named Victor, who tells them that the company does not have a mechanic, but Akitaru tells him that they are trying to recruit a person named Vulcan. Habana says that is an impossible task. Although he is the best mechanic, he turns everyone down because he hates Hinjima Industry and the Fire Force organization. Akitaru orders Arthur, Shinra, and Iris to head over to Vulcan's workshop to recruit him. The team arrive ready to convince him, but they are attacked with projectiles and are told to get lost. Shinra is ready to give up and go back, but Vulcan's apprentice, who just returned with some scrap, agrees to hear them out. After listening to what Shinra has to say, he is convinced that they aren't like the other Fire Force companies who came to recruit his master, so he decides to sneak them inside the workshop. They meet Liz, Vulcan's assistants. Just then, Vulcan goes outside to meet Dr. Giovanni, who had come to give Vulcan a final warning to join Company 3, but he accuses the doctor of killing his father and grandfather. Vulcan tells him to go away and never return. Shinra explains to him the reason of his visit, which seems to have softened his heart outer shell. He demonstrates to the group what he dreams of the most and what he wishes to achieve with his skill. His goal is to create a strong energy source that can bring the whole world back along with all the animals that went extinct. When he goes back into the workshop, Lisa relays the story of how Vulcan had saved her and took her in after she had no place to go. Yu tells them that Vulcan's grandfather had taken Dr. Giovanni as an apprentice, and after his grandfather and father had passed away, Giovanni went to work for Hinjima Industry despite it being forbidden by his master. Vulcan therefore sees the doctor as a traitor. Shinra and the rest go outside when he suddenly gets a sensation in his feet just when Giovanni is making plans to end Vulcan's life. Shinra tells both his teammates of the impending danger and tells them to go inform Vulcan whilst he goes to look for the doctor. Shinra finds the doctor where a fight soon ensues. Unfortunate for him, Giovanni takes him out using his tactics and gadgets. Arthur tries to convince Vulcan to evacuate, but he thinks that Company 8 is just trying to hire him and are making up stories, but soon this becomes true. An army of white-clads surround the building. Arthur comes out alone to take them all on with a weapon Vulcan made. With one strike, he dispels the army of white-clads, but it turns out to be a mirage. Arthur, who thinks he is a knight, makes his flame even stronger, and he defeats enemies left and right. Arthur continues to battle them until he is shown a mirror image of how ridiculous he looks. This reduces his fighting power. Inside the workshop, Vulcan advises them to run to safety whilst he gives himself up to buy time for his friends. But Lisa shows her true colors and launches a surprise attack on Vulcan, which incapacitates him. Lisa tells him she is a mole sent there to earn his trust in order to steal the key to Amaterasu, but Vulcan has no idea what she's talking about. Giovanni enters and demands to know where the key is, but when he says he has no idea, the doctor threatens to kill Lisa and his apprentice. But after beating Vulcan with his cane, he comes to the realization that perhaps he really does not know where the key is, so he breaks a device nearby in frustration, which happens to have the key inside it. Elsewhere, Shinra is discovered and saved by Hibana, who is considering taking him home. She lets him out, and he quickly makes his way to the workshop where he lands a knee at Giovanni's face. Lisa releases her powers, capturing Shinra, but her power, which utilizes magnetic fields, is disrupted when Vulcan tells Iris to release his toy animals. Now free, Shinra knocks him through the wall and is confronted by his younger brother. As Shinra talks with excitement to finally see Sho, he releases his incredible powers and knocks his elder brother and Arthur out within milliseconds. Giovanni shows his boss the key he acquired. But before they take Shinra with them, Victor comes in a car to save them all. Sho is unwilling to let Shinra escape, but as he prepares to attack, Joker holds him in his place long enough for them to get good distance before escaping himself. They take you to the hospital before making their way back to the station where Vulcan is introduced to the team. After indulging in some food cooked by the lieutenant, he is escorted back to the workshop where he apologizes to his father and grandfather for joining a fire force company. His family are the ones responsible for building Amaterasu, and he feels that he is responsible if anything happens to it. Back at Teammates' base, Akitoru holds a meeting with his allies to discuss and share whatever information they have gathered so far on the White Cloud. It is also revealed that Giovanni and a few others from Company 3 mysteriously vanished after their cover was blown, and that a fake was placed to cover things up. Akitoru discloses that he has ordered Victor to find the base of the White Clad, after which he will launch an attack. So in preparation for this, Joker tells Victor to find a way of making Shinra stronger. Meanwhile, Vulcan gets straight to work and begins inventing useful tools to help Akitoru and Maki. Shinra and Arthur have been shipped over to Benimaru to be under his coaching during Victor comes up with a way of making Shinra faster. He tells him to compress his fire whilst emitting it to mimic the function of jet propulsion. He goes straight to work but finds it difficult to move forward. Arthur, also under the guidance of Conroe, learns a few techniques for his sword style to make himself stronger. Captain Benimaru teaches him a hand sign that will allow him to focus a great deal of energy to his feet. With some extreme focus, he begins to get the hang of it. Both Shinra and Arthur spar with Benimaru, using the pointers he gave them. It looks like they are getting stronger in preparation to take on the Evangelist organization. Dr. Giovanni reports back to Sho. He shows concerns that the Fire Force Agency will pinpoint their location at the Netherworld, where they are situated. Sho informs him that even if they do, it will only be the White Clad's advantage. Meanwhile, at the fire station, Akitoru briefs the team on the location of the White Clad based on Victor's analysis. They are operating from the underground railway station that was thought to have been destroyed during the Great Cataclysm. The captain concludes the meeting by saying they are going on an all-out raid to bring the Evangelist down. The next day, the team make their way to the Nether upon receiving special permission from the church. Company 8 stand before the entrance where Iris offers a prayer before they enter. The space is completely dark, so Maki uses her fire abilities to illuminate the darkness. As they proceed through the tunnels, they are ambushed and separated by two of the white-clad members. Maki ends up all alone where she is confronted by 6 white-clad members. At first, she is afraid because she thought they were ghosts, but after finding out they are human, she unleashes her strength when one member dashes to take her out. Maki then utilizes the equipment Vulcan engineered specifically for her to single-handedly take out all the members. Flato stands alone to put an end to her. He believes that since she is just a woman, she cannot do any damage to him. So she comes in with a sweet elbow to the back of his head, which knocks him out. Elsewhere in the tunnels, Iris and Tamaki are alone when Assault comes to put an end to their advances. Tamaki steps up to fight him, but Assault proves too much for her. Tamaki manages to find some resolve and dodges one of his attacks. As she flies through the air, he accidentally grabs her bosom, which distracts him and allows Iris to knock him out with a pole. Meanwhile, Hinoa is having troubles of his own when Arrow begins to attack him from long range. He realizes that his opponent has the advantage in distance, so he tries to close the gap by running through a train. However, Arrow spots his location and launches a flaming arrow which sends Hinoa through the windows. He takes cover behind a pillar, and the two engage in a conversation, which gets Hinowa fired up. He brings out his gun and also begins to fire long-range shots. The fight turns into an interesting game of tennis, but with this version, it's game, set, death. Hinowa's shots are so powerful, they destroy a barrel each time he shoots. The pair stand up to face each other one last time, but on this occasion, he uses arrow's flames to propel his bullet even faster, which sends her flying and making him the victor. He slumps down next to a pillar after going past his limits. That is when the cowards Mirage and Yona appear before him to extinguish his flames. However, Hinowa signals Arthur to make his grand entrance. Mirage creates a mist which impairs Arthur's vision. He then proceeds to rush towards him with his shimmers in hopes of wearing him out, but Arthur wastes no energy in engaging any of the clones. Instead, he recalls his training with Benomura, who instructed him to focus on the breath of life. Once he hears that distinct breath, he launches an attack which takes Mirage out. It turns out Mirage was distracting Arthur so he could sneak up and kill Hinowa. Yonen is just as much of a coward because he ran away and left his partner behind. Meanwhile, Iris and Tamaki are relieved to meet up with Maki, whilst Captain Akitaru and Vulcan are held up by Giovanni and Lisa, whose real name is Fela. Vulcan tries to reach her through emotions, but it seems as though Giovanni has some sort of mental hold on her. Fela prepares herself to attack her friend. She activates her power and holds both the captain and Vulcan within her flames. Lisa relays the story of how the White Clad helped her overcome the fear of flames by awakening her powers using the bugs. As she tosses them about, Akitaru was quietly planting bombs to extinguish her flames. Due to this, her powers are deactivated, which makes her free fall, but Vulcan comes in to save her. Giovanni manages to convince her to come back to him. He then takes her hostage and tells Vulcan to shoot Akitaru in the chest, otherwise he would kill Lisa. He does exactly so, and Giovanni sticks to his words by letting Lisa go. However, Akitaru had a protective vest on and proceeds to attack the doctor. They push him back, which gives them the opportunity to save Lisa. Whilst they fight, Dr. Giovanni reveals that the Evangelist is actually a deity and random human combustion is caused by people who possess Adola Burst. After that revelation, he retreats, saying his task of stalling them has been achieved. His objective was to get Shinra and Sho together. Victor spectates the two brothers fight at speeds so fast he cannot see what's going on. During their fight, Sho finally releases his power. Victor figured out that Sho's powers work by him cooling down the universe to slow its expansion, hence, he is able to stop time. Sho presents to his brother through an Adola link with the other universes like. Sho explains to Shinra that where they currently stand is known as Adola, otherwise known as Hell to Humans, which is the source of an Adola burst. Right behind Sho stands the Evangelist, whom he refers to as the one who protects him and the one who grants him strength. After the vision, they return to the normal dimension to continue with their fight. Shinra tries time and time again to land a strike, but he fails consistently despite using his new technique to increase his speed. However, after going deep within himself to find motivation and resolve, he moves so fast that even Sho could not see him after he stopped the flow of time. Shinra was able to achieve this by forcing an Adola link, and they fight at hyper speed. Victor figures out that Shinra is traveling so fast that he moves at the speed of light, and when he does this, his body disintegrates. This allows him to also stop time, however, as he goes past the speed of light, his body particles reassemble. Sho is impressed as well. Shinra is forcing an Adola link, but Sho uses his power first to end Shinra, but it seems Shinra is too fast and he bursts through his time freeze. Shinra calls this as a game of tag between brother, and that if Sho doesn't take this seriously, he will lose. Sho and Shinra duke it out and they keep on clashing. Shinra uses this ability to show his little brother how life was for him after his family were consumed by the flames. Shinra always told Sho that he would come to his rescue and protection no matter what. As Sho sees this, he begins to cry. However, as they hugged, Sho still had his weapon drawn, so he accidentally pierced through Shinra's chest. Hamiya comes in to collect Shinra for the Evangelist. Shinra asks Hamiya what their plans are. She informs him that they aim to recreate Great Cataclysm, for which they need Adola links. Hamiya distributes an electric shock, which allows her to take control of Sho's mind as he is beginning to ask too much. Company 8 arrive and they push her back. Shinra is taken to Company 6 for medical treatment, and he recovers in a few days due to his immense damage. Company 1's doctor uses her fire to help Shinra heal. When he wakes up, he confronts Burns, and as if he knew all this, which Burns agrees to, and he tells him that he knew it all. This makes Shinra mad as he hid the truth from him. However, Burns wants him to prove himself before he can know the truth. So the two engage in a fierce battle for Shinra to prove he is strong enough to handle the truth. Shinra uses his speed to break through and manages to injure Burns' forearm. After seeing how much strength and resolve Shinra now has, he opts to tell them everything about that fateful night. On that day, the white-clad were present. Hamiya and Sharon were waiting at the location where the Evangelist informed them that an Adola burst will be born. It turns out that Sho was the one who started the fire after he awakened his Adola burst. This transformed their mother into a demon infernal and awakened Shinra's third-generation abilities. Burns explains that he didn't want Shinra to be involved in the mess, and he also understood that if they had found out about Shinra's powers, they would have come for him too. Shinra then recalls an experience he had in the Nether after having an Adola link. He saw his mother and also saw the captain of Company 4 and understood that Soichiro was the answer to making another Adola link. At the station, Shinra relays all of this information to Akitaru, who then asks him what he will do since his mother is now an infernal. He replies saying he will find a way to save her and turn her back into a human being, while saving his brother Sho as well.